People like breakfast in bed and
Uh, yep, that's all good. Peace and love to all. We open this divine meeting in the name of the divine creator. And with this opening statement, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, as Al Sufian, Moorish American Muslims, are returning to Absalom, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah: honor thy father and thy mother, and that our days may be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord our Creator Allah have given us.
beautiful.
And that got to be understood. Because we talking about the beginnings.
Right on. Right on.
We didn't begin in Rome.
Right on.
So we can't worship anything that begins in Rome.
Right on, brother.
Nor Jerusalem.
Right on.
These are holy words and instructions for those holy angels who know the teachings.
Right on.
So as we traveling back to our Asiatic roots of the Far East, we're starting with Confucius, which represent our Asiatic descent. And so we understanding the practicality and the philosophy of Confucius concerning the virtuous government. So we're going to be returning to the book of Analects of Confucius. And we're going to begin where we left off on Friday, on book 13.
Right on. Okay. 1. Zalu asked about government. Period. The master said, do it by leading, and by rewarding. Anything further, may I ask? The master said, never be neglectful. Zugong, who was serving as steward to the Jia family, asked about government. The master said, your first concern should be the officers in your employ. Excuse minor shortcomings and promote those of outstanding talent. How can I know of those of outstanding talent in order to promote them? This was a deep conversation here. The master said, promote those you know to be worthy. As for those you don't know, will others fail to mention them? Question mark right there. It's asking about the government. And the first thing it seemed to me is though you're telling them first you have to look within yourself and govern yourself. And you worry about that government because that government that you talking about could be out of order. I mean, a reckless behavior, what I'm saying, or ugly behavior. And when I see governments today, and we hit the button fast forward and come to today, and we ask ourselves about government today, what will we say? And what will we see? I don't have to call no name to bear no blame. What you will see will be pure ugliness and hardship, hatred, and can't get along. Now, who want to be part of that or join that? That ain't of righteousness. 3, Zalu said, if the rulers of we were waiting for you, master, to take charge of government affairs, what would you do first? Ooh, good question. The master said, if I had to name my first action, I would rectify names. And we do believe that everybody in government has a name.
That's why we understand what is our name.
Mm-hmm. Good point. Because it seems like names are important. And I guess if you need to call somebody, they need to have a name.
Yes, because name goes back to acknowledge, acknowledgement. And so when you're giving no worthy to people who's worthy, that's why you speak their names. So like Honorable not Elijah Muhammad though in reference, but I'm speaking of Noble Drew Ali.
Yeah.
But those things like that, acknowledging.
That's right.
If you can't acknowledge greatness, then you're not great yourself.
That's right.
You have to be able to see greatness
right on.
in others to be able to know of your greatness.
Right on.
As it's saying, promote worthiness, not minor claims and shortcomings. When the intention of K.O.S. is for knowledge, knowledge only. To apply this knowledge to yourself, and with this knowledge, you will be able to govern yourself. Self-government is an ancient understanding of knowledge of self.
Yeah.
When those who walked in the path of knowledge, they walked in the teachings of divinity. And in the teachings of divinity, there was always 2 understandings and 1 wisdom. And those 2 understandings was you had a divine self and you had a natural self.
Beautiful.
And so the natural self was the body, and the body was a gift from the Creator. Sufian, Allah, Wallah. This is how we will say it in our language. Non-European, non-Christian. So when we're talking about understanding our form of government have names.
Right on.
And they don't belong to the language of English or derivatives. Right on. The language of our forefathers is the first language to be constructed on the planet and taken across the planet to be educated for all the public and all the people to have the same knowledge. Right. But like in a movie, there's always a villain. So some villain wanted to destroy that plan and not have divine knowledge carry out through the terrain of the plane. So this is why masterminds have to come back to retrace themselves, to recover our lost heritage, to reacquire our vast estate. And we have to understand there are protocols to your attainment. You to understand, to be entitled, you must understand the instructions. And you must be guided by proper instructions to receive your entitlement. So when we're talking about government, we're talking about mental and your mental status in your own governing your own self and studying to show self-approved. If one has not done this, this is not fit for governor. Because our governor is Allah. And Allah is the greatest, wisest of all politics, whose knowledge cannot be disturbed. Nothing can be erased. Only the brain can be reprogrammed and overwritten through the conglomeration of ignorance. We have to understand these texts that we're reading. This is not just for superior brain orientation. This is for you to govern yourself and to understand self-knowledge. That you have two selves and your higher self has to govern your lower self.
Beautiful.
And your lower self is a criminal.
Right on.
And if you don't understand your lower self ways, it will go astray. And if you don't know of your higher self, then you will fall victim to the identifying as the lower self. So these things we call the divine self, the higher self, and the lower self, the natural self. These things are substantiated by two elements. You cannot have one without the other, just like you can't have words without sound. So these things come together instead of being separated and in despair. Despaired. Love is a unity and unity of self-awareness. Self-awareness being aware of your two selves and which one is the navigator and which one is the rider. A car, for instance, there's a driver, and there's a passenger. Those are analogies resembling your higher self and your lower self. You don't let the passenger drive or you're bound to crash. We have to understand that analogy in correspondence to the higher self and lower self. Until you understand this knowledge, you will be ruled by others who are performing this knowledge and have this knowledge in order for themselves and have names for you to fall under their organization of their political structure, which is under their language. And we have to understand our language predates Rome. Our language predates Latin. Our language predates Greek. And the Latin and the Greeks love to name things after Latin and Greek.
They do.
And these things come from a Hebrew origin, which comes from a Persian origination, which hate knowledge. And so all these forms of languages created from derivations from the false language of Hebrew, and it bringing step brothers and step sisters into the world, creating non-biological children, offspring. So they have no connection with purity because our bloodlines connects with purity across the shores.
Beautiful.
We don't wake up with harm on our mind or an agenda to make an agenda to keep others under a particular governmental system. And this system is no longer physical. This system is thought-based. So we have to understand these things as we continue our lesson.
Right on. Well said. And I hope it's well heard of. Because it don't get no sweeter than what you just said. And when I was sitting here listening to what you were saying, all I could think about was that a thought government with minds and ideas have trapped our people and put us on the lower, the two cells. When I was looking at that and using that as a measurement, I was seeing that the evil of the lower self and the lower self government that's been created and got holding divine people trying to live under all this filth. I got to call it duck a duck and a duck a duck. Right. And we can't live under this. If anybody out there in their right frame of mind, if you could hide things, and what you just explained clearly, if that went over your head, I'm sorry. I'm going to continue reading, but that was beautiful, son. Well explained and well said. Zalou said, there that why people say you are out of touch with reality. That's another thing they like to slap on you. You ain't with the program. Have y'all heard that before?
Yes.
You got to get with the program. The master said, how boorish you are, you Zalou. When a gentleman is confronted with something he does not understand, he should adopt a respectful attitude. If names are not rectified, then speech will not function properly, and if speech does not function properly, then undertaking will not succeed. So you got to get it right. And if it ain't understood, then how you going to have it right when you're confused already?
Mm-hmm. And see, these are things we haven't been taught because we've been called by the English language.
Yeah.
And sculpted into whatever they wanted the design and the architect wanted it to be.
Right on, brother.
We have to understand that all cream don't come from milk.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful. Think on that.
If we don't understand what we are speaking on,
right on.
This is why we have not freed ourselves.
Right on.
The black man and the black woman do not know their purpose of why they exist.
They don't.
See, and this as we have to take a step back and we have to reset from daily mundane action into spiritual ecclesiastical thinking. So we can start contemplating a greater reality that is ideal in form and exists just as your mind exists. But you don't understand the mind because the mind is all right.
Yeah.
It don't do no wrong. It understands wisdom of the creator.
Right on.
The creative mind is the mind that we have to attain. And to attain that, we must speak properly. Sacred speech was our ancient way that they now watered down into philosophy and theology. Our words match with logic. And so if someone right now speech is kind of impeded or have a speech impediment, we will say that person has a impediment or retardation or a slowness. This is how we got tricked out the bag. And then we got placed in a bag through language.
That's right.
You tell me, how can you function in your 3D reality without language? Take your 3D reality that you're familiar with. Now impose it with a language that you have no understanding of. Road signs, you don't know what they're saying. Buildings, you don't know what they're saying. Directions, you don't know what they're saying. You picking up literature, you don't know what it's saying.
I hate for you to not be with the interpreter. You better hope you got an interpreter traveling along with you.
This is how black man and black woman are when it comes to knowledge of self. We like in a lost world that we don't understand called English.
You're right.
We just see roads that lead to places and we just follow the road. But we ain't understanding how the higher affects the lower.
Right on.
The flood don't come from the earth. The flood come from the rain. The rain come from above.
Right on.
It comes to below.
Beautiful.
The rain affects below. This is why we have to understand the divine affects the natural.
Beautiful.
We in the natural world,
right on,
where supernatural and natural meets. What is called supernatural is what they use as a euphemism to cover the word divine. Our word divine goes to the word Sufian.
Beautiful.
The word Sufian is the way of life for us.
Come on with it.
It's the way of divinity and the divine mind and the divine knowledge only. So everything came through the creator, by the creator, for the creator, and to the creator, and return back into the creator.
Beautiful.
But these other weirdos came with their philosophies, stolen from ancient places, reorganized themselves as a new language, but of an ancient way. And now begin to fabricate more languages into this false knowledge and false scripture and false text, which will lead to false conduct and false worship of not knowing self. This is why we have to understand what we read, and speech have changed from what we were speaking as. How we speak now in English ain't what our forefathers spoke. Our forefathers spoke just as what we were saying, Sufian, Kalika. These are words in our language. That's what we are. Our divine title. Our natural law is Moorish American, which comes from the origin of Maraba. Maraba is the origin of the first ever language to ever be created, the first architects of every science, mathematics, where the first city of learning was to ever begin with, and where all scholars, including the high priest of Egypt, or the island of the Elephantine Island, they came to learn here.
Let it be known.
So when we understand it, how did language divert into a diaspora where we don't understand where the parents are?
Right on.
The children has lost their parents. They lost at the fair.
That's about like the Jesus story.
Wandering around.
He got lost.
So if you want to find your parents, you better know your parents' name. This is what we get into with speech.
Right on.
So if you want to find your creator, you better find your creator's name. And the way comes available.
Well, I want to jump in here right quick. So when I hear the name Republican Party or the Democratic Party, that ain't my parents' name. Are you saying that?
Hey, you could be adopted in this world, so we.
Are you saying ain't named the USA stand for the United States of America? And to the flag of which it stands. Those are not my parents. Whoa. You said a mouthful, brother.
We talk about law of physics. This is metaphysics 101.
You speaking truth. That's all I can say. That's all my ears hear. It's good news. And rightfully news, because if you train a dog to speak English, and that's all out, and everybody speaking English, and it ain't your parents in a language, that means that someone is driving your car. And you the passenger. It's clear as day. I don't know what else to say. I'm going to keep on reading. Because we're talking about government and asking all about this here. Govern yourself in and out, in and out. If undertaken do not succeed, then rights and music will not flourish. If rights and music do not flourish, then punishment and penalty will not be justly administered. And if punishment and penalty are not justly administered, then the common people will not know whether to place their hands and feet. My. And all I could, as I was reading, all my mind was doing is just reflecting of the punishment and penalty that we have been administered to. For what reason?
For joining Christianity. That's why I stated that at the beginning opening. We returning Christianity and their church.
Right on.
Because of these things do not serve our forefathers and our foremothers. Black man and black woman didn't come out of white sperm.
Right on.
That's just how white man's sperm do not hold a black man.
Right on.
That's just law of physics.
Right on.
So how can we have a language of a stepfather?
That's right.
Unless you was adopted.
Right on.
And so we have to understand this is not just legal parlance I'm using. This is divine, rooted out, branched out into nationalism.
Yeah.
And since we don't understand politics, we don't understand nationalism. Politics is the background of who you are.
Mm-hmm.
If you have no political structure, you have no administration system.
Right on.
If you have no administration system, how can justice prevail?
There you go.
Where there is no laws, there is sin.
Right on.
So when we're talking about in our original way, divinity was our law.
There you go. Right on.
And so everything that we put out from divinity was rooted in divinity.
Beautiful.
Just as a branch is rooted in the trunk.
Right on.
and the trunk is rooted in the root. Our root goes back to the heart of ourselves, and in our heart is the Creator himself. This is why you are dark skinned and not pale skinned. Let's get that clear.
Yeah. We need to be crystal clear today.
Your Creator is like you. Their Creator is like them. Not in the sense of spirit. Because we have to understand soul on levels.
That's right.
Because we have not been told what a soul is in Christianity. To pull you in, I think Christianity has a soul. But the people of Christianity have showed you themselves.
That's right.
What they are made of.
Yeah, they kill, they murder.
And so when we're talking about political dysfunction and organization malpractice, accepted their ways. We have to understand something a beautiful question you asked was, how did this happen? And this is why they banned you. They banned your lower self from knowing about Noble Drew Ali.
Yeah.
They banned your mind from all this knowledge.
That's right.
They censored you in Black History Month and never told you about this beautiful angel that we had come in the flesh, born before you, 1886, on the same soil that you breathe air in.
Beautiful. Beautiful. And the Bible spoke of one gonna be born in your own homeland that was gonna be your leader.
Yeah.
And he's a living witness. And I didn't mean to jump in here and cut you off, but I just want to say this right here. It's a strange thing that you could hear everybody's name from Moses to Jeremiah all the way up to the present time, and no name mentioned of Noble Drew Ali. You hear King, you hear Marcus, you hear Malcolm, you hear Elijah, you hear Farrakhan, you hear all them names, but no Noble Drew Ali. I wonder why. And we are here today. My son is telling you why. Go ahead, son. Yeah, they need to know. Everybody else, man.
For me, I needed to know. This is, see, because I don't ever want to take on the position that you need to know and I don't need to know.
Right on.
I needed to know this before I even told you you needed to know this.
Beautiful.
When there's disorder in your life, and you understand, let's bring it to 3D law of physics. If your house is dirty, you will begin to clean it. If dishes in the sink, you will begin to wash them. But your brain, you don't understand how to clean it. You don't understand how to wash your brain from the filthiness of false teachings and false conversations that led to false actions and now held together all by belief. We have to understand why. See, belief is a core foundation of our ancient way. It was the way of wisdom for us, but our belief wasn't cardinal. The belief was divine.
Yes, indeed.
And so when, as you see on the screen, number 17, this is why you never heard about Noble Drew Ali, because he ties you back to your ancient Maraba origin. This is where Moors is derived from. M-A-R-A-B. And this is where all of the knowledge was stolen from before Greek was a language, before Phoenician was a language, before English was a language, before Greek was a language. We're talking about perfected through geometry mathematical science of law of what we call in what Christians stole and called everlasting life. So we have to understand we have a certain way that we follow called the way of everlasting life.
Beautiful.
We don't live for just this realm.
Beautiful.
We live for our future life as well. And we are more concerned with our future life as we are concerned with this life. And our future life is what we call divine. What we live now in temporal time and space, good and evil, X and Y. This is our natural law.
Right on.
This is where our flesh, this is why we have a head and a foot. And what we want to learn is why the Creator deals with the heart. This is where we have to understand what we have been torn away from is learning to love. We have learned not to love.
Yes, indeed.
And we have picked up hateful. Most people in a black woman mind physical form have been subvertedly defeated by psychological subversion.
Right on.
Through ideal consumption.
Right on.
You have to read. Why you don't read things from your original forefathers? Why we don't go back to the forefathers have already recorded? Why we have the language and why we don't speak this, but we keep saying hello?
Yeah. Why?
You saying hell.
Hell.
You opening it up for hell.
Oh, hell.
Our greeting of ancient times has always been As-salam, Wadu. In love. We made of peace. Consider love. Vibrating at such a divine frequency that is undetectable by lower self individuals.
Beautiful.
We operate from the foundation of our higher self. And to us, our higher self is all. We don't need to subjugate. We don't need to convert. We don't need to turn away from what we know from inside just to be swayed by the outside.
Yeah.
As it reads, it says that black and colored is not names of Asiatics.
Look at that.
Chinese people are Asiatics. Do they call themselves yellow people?
Sure don't.
Do they call themselves white people?
Sure don't.
So as they, so shall you.
Beautiful.
You have your own likeness, your own sameness, and it's called Ish or Moorish. This is what we have to understand is the divine creed of the principles, not the rituals. As we said, if the speech follow a certain organization of principles, then the undertakings shall be succeeding. You shall succeed. Succeed means succession, not succeed as in what English has constructed, but as in a consequence, a succession of series.
That's right.
So when we're talking about how do we correct our way, we correct our way by proper names. Proper names belong to us. All our issues exist in the names of our forefathers and foremothers.
Right on.
And our issues is not his. It's not said the Republican and the Democratic.
Yeah. Yeah.
Our mission is to fall in humanity through divine knowledge of Sufian.
Yeah.
As-salam.
Right on. And as you was speaking, all I could think of was one word, and that just look what a mess it done created. That's why we follow none of that, because we ain't about that. And democracy has nothing to do with divinity. I'm going to move on. Therefore, when the gentleman named his thing, that be conveyed in speech. Speaking of name and how name and the importance of it. It said convey in speech, and if it is conveyed in speech, then it can surely be put into action. See that? That's why you don't hear no Drew Ali name, because there's going to be some action behind it. And you hear the other name, and you see all the action behind them. And when you hear the name Jesus, you see all the action behind the name Jesus. But now my question to you, where's your action? Because I don't see any Jesus action going on. Not on Capitol Hill or anywhere else, because Jesus didn't drop bombs, nor lean guns. Think on that. I'm going to complete this paragraph. When the gentleman speaks, there is nothing arbitrary in the way he does so. See? You're thinking evil, your action gonna be evil. If you're thinking about war, then it's gonna be war. They're singing the nuclear song now. Ain't just war, but they singing nuclear war, music, speech. Don't you hear them? You know, all I thought about was that scripture in the Bible where the devil said that he said, I just called and they came. They just heard and they came. They heard and they joined. In contrast, is in tonight is a contract agreement the source. That's all I see. When it comes down to divinity, that's ain't their mind. Number 4, Van Chi wanted to study how to grow. The master said, in that line, I'll be less used to you than an old farmer. See? The master said, in that line, I'll be less used to you than an old vegetable grower. Remember what Brother L said earlier about, see, they was the growers, they was the old farmers. That's what he's trying to tell you. Everybody can't just jump out there and grow or become a farmer, but if they throw dirt on the farmer gonna get dirt anyway because he deal with dirt. after Fanchai had left, the master said, "What a petty man." Fanchai, if those in higher position love rituals, then none of the common people will venture to be disrespectful. If those in higher position love rightness, then none of the common people will venture to be disobedient. See? And you won't have the problem that we have and face today. But if you love wrongfulness, you have a whole lot of problems. And when I tell you, everybody throwing stones at Donald Trump, but everybody else is the same. And this is the confusion. But we don't live part, we don't want to be part of no government because this is what's going on. And when you vote and you doing all this here, this is what. If you've been voting, trouble not have a problem, that's what you've been voting for, you've been getting. The master said, if those in high position love trustworthiness, would venture to act in. And if such a condition in the people from the foreign lands adjacent, their children strapped to their backs. Grain growing, question mark. The master said, a man may be able to recite all 300 odes, but assign him as some neighboring state, and he answers unassisted, and no matter how many odes he might know, what good is life? Good is he? See? The master said, if the person himself is correct, then although you do not order him to do so, he will act. If the person himself is not correct, then you order him, he will not obey. The master said, the governments of Lu and we are us and younger brothers. The master said of the ducal son of Jin, he was good at managing his household wealth. At first he said, this just about covers things. And when he had accumulated a little more, he said, just about enough. When he became truly rich, he said, just about perfect. When the master went to weep, ran you act as his carriage power. The master says a sizable population. Rand, you said, once you have a sizable population, what should you do next? The master said, make them rich. And once they are rich, question mark, the master said, instruct them. I guess the government print all that money. Let's just stop a moment and think about this. The government print all that money. What they poor people? When you can do just what the master said, make them all rich. But no, you love your government. You love to go to the voting poll. The master said, make them rich. You begging for money. They got these little petty programs set up for the elders and run there to these little petty programs and looking for help. Just look, you have lost your cotton picking mind and turn into all these evil sources. When you need to be turning to yourself, know who you are, and live a virtuous life. And don't tell me you can't do it when I know you can. So make them rich. Then instruct them. The master said, if someone were to employ me in government, in 1 year, I could show what I can do. That's God-heaven truth. I don't know what takes so long for this and that. You vote for me and I'll do this and I'll do that and I'll do. Let's finish the question. I'll show you what I can do. He ain't just talking. And in 3 years, I could bring things to completion. In 3 years, thrice. How many presidents we done had and the mess ain't been? It's a game they playing with your mind. He said 3 years. We don't have how many presidents? Over 40-something. And they ain't counting just 4 years. Some have 8 years. So do the math on that and look how long. And that's why you're in the condition and the shape you in, because they have molded you into a fool, a foolish fool. Let's move on. The master said, they said that if good men were to govern the domain for 100 years, they could and put an end to how true those words, exclamation mark. Let's hit the pause button. Let's talk just a little bit on that right there. Say, wipe out what? Violence and end to killing. Let's hit the rewind button and go back into time. No and no killing. Let's hit the fast forward button and And it spoke about a certain kind of men. It said good men and bad men. Bad men are the evil leaders of all these governments. Self-explanatory. It don't take a rocket science to defeat, and then we focus and reflect on what we hear, and we reflect as we of the thing being said, and we should see clearly what's going on in this reality, in this society. They ain't got no. You go ahead. Number 12, the master said, if we had a true king, if we had, it would require a generation before humaneness would prevail. A true king, a righteous king. The master said, if you can learn to correct yourself, what trouble could you have in administering a government? Beautiful. Question mark. If you can learn to correct yourself, study yourself, correct yourself, that what takes place first. Say, what trouble could you have in administering the government? At all. But if you cannot correct yourself, how can you hope to correct others? So when we see all the people in the prime light, in the limelight, with all and everybody you see in the limelight is trouble. Trouble man, trouble woman. And they running for position to correct. But in the Bible, where it says double mind is unstable in all his ways.
The whole situation.
It's
That's why I'm doing what I'm doing. It's sad.
Mm-hmm.
I'm to have our older people are failing in these tasks is a shame as a nation.
It is.
We have stopped themselves from doing incorrect. And this leads to the youth doing incorrect action.
Yeah.
And so all these things coordinate into a self-destructing pattern. I have not in my entire life seen many people who have corrected themselves. This is why honors come to great men such as Noble Drew Ali. Because when you are and you ain't correcting others, you correcting yourself. It's just like me bringing forth K.O.S. This come from correcting myself.
Beautiful.
Not correcting others. I don't come to teach you. I teach myself. I come to share the knowledge, what was gained. You have to correct your own self. And I know that you're going to need proper, what we call right knowledge.
Right on.
Subah Alima. This is how we said it. Knowledge is what you need, because if you don't have right knowledge, how do you know when to correct yourself?
Right on.
How do you don't have knowledge? And if you have no knowledge of self, you can hang it up.
Right on.
And that's what has been on our people backs, shoulders, blood, sweat, and years of tears. For lacking this self-knowledge. It was told in BC times that you shall be destroyed. People destroyed. It's myself. To see the people who are Allah, seeing the people destroyed, of false education.
Right on.
Prevail over knowledge is not pleasing.
Right on.
We don't have enough order, unity, and organization to write knowledge. You got more preachers than you got leaders.
Right on.
This is why I come aboard. This ain't no order from someone higher above. Ain't no higher authority over here at K.O.S. Allah is the only.
Beautiful. Well,
Ourself, Lord, am master. He who knows his own self knows the divine creator. We come from a divine teachings, from a divine strain, from a divine understanding, divine knowledge only. And so divine knowledge is perfect knowledge, never altered, never need fixing, and you don't have to keep putting wood in the fire. So why is ignorance keep doing it knows no knowledge? And remember, you got two selves, so you can be your own ignorance.
That's right.
Just as you are. My older people are affected by this word God. They are affected by this word Jesus, and they have no indication where this stuff come from. Then they tell their children these false beliefs, Santa Claus all the way, and God Claus. It's going to be sanctity when the speech is wrong. If God was pure, then the world would be pure. Off the word alone. When you say that word, everybody will give you a different definition of the word God. Is that unity or division? So, in the court of truth. And so when we speaking about what's truer than you living the life you in, than to be told about a future life that you have to die.
Yeah.
And before we get on any further, because this is what I really like to clean into.
Come on with it.
It's real things your heart.
Right on.
Because this the only purify.
Right on.
Eyes don't purify. You're going to need that fire of Sufian.
Right on.
So when we're talking about what have you done, you cannot erase what you have done. You have done. And in your brain, you are ignorant of actions. You are to your children to worship God. And you don't even know what God is. This is a blasphemy and a guilty crime of all parents. You don't give them something you don't even know and tell them to give all their soul to it and all their mind and whatever.
All in. Yes, sir.
Now all you hear is the young people say the words on God.
Yeah.
No, that's older people who don't say God fix it. That's older people who've been spelled under that spell. Young people say on God. They gonna do whatever they do, and they gonna do it on God. meaning the actions are for God. But now they don't know what God is. Here this way before death. Right. This is why this fire is purifying, because you don't want to feel it at death. Yeah. This is your own actions and your own ignorance creating the life of death for you. That's right. You have to understand self-knowledge. Self-knowledge do not come through. You do not get self-knowledge through music. You don't get self-knowledge through rituals. Self-knowledge is the divine creator himself. And when you don't know your saying, you ain't never said to the children, to the people, know yourself. Before you pray to God, know yourself. Yeah, right on. Right on. But it's reverse. You pray to something you don't know if it's correct how you praying, because you. Yeah. So we talking about actions that have been done by parents, parents before parents, parents before parents, all the way before until 1886 till this truth can arrive. 1886, you experienced the fire. Now, do you got enough will in yourself to not get burned anymore? Oh, do you got enough will in your brain to know that fire is hot, and hot ain't nothing to play with? Sin is hot. This is why black people, this is a whole, we don't understand knowledge of self. So it just sounds like words. Because in the beginning was the word, and the word was God, and God done tricked the whole word with the word. Yes, indeed. And God ain't even a sacred name. God is not what you think it is. God is not the divine creator. But if you want to use God, then you must say the great God. The great God. Great is one of the names of the divine creator. As we were speaking about earlier, divine creator. I was lied to and told it was 99. If I believed that, then I would have went down with a lie. How many people believe that? And I hear repeat. 99 names of a lie. Truth, and truth can never be changed. So we have to understand higher self, lower self, so we can begin to master self. You need self mastery. It ain't no other way around that. For self mastery, you need self knowledge. And if you think Allah don't have knowledge of himself, then we know what you worship. Because the divine knowledge don't make not one error, not a fraction of an error. It wasn't no error when you was made. So the error was in what you received. Now you receiving greater, so you can throw away the lesser. This is why we have to turn the trash into purity. You have to burn your trash. What we understanding is trash is trash. We collect so much trash, we don't even know what trash is anymore. We think it's something divine. We done lost grip of reality through materialism and materialistic ideas that have now converted your soul into a body. And now you think you are the 5 limbs you observe in the mirror. Shame on you to fall in such a lower self. So that means you can be tricked and convinced by any soul that has an attraction to. All they got to do is have what you want. That's it. And if you in the lower self, bam, snap, crackle, and pop. And the remorse and the repercussion of that is self-ignorance. We don't understand how deficit a lie has been to our whole people.
Right on. Right on.
The biggest lie is the lie of God.
That's right. That's right.
They have told you that you believe God died. This is told in my era of generation.
Yeah.
The filth I hear from grown individuals who are nothing but babes from Babylon, from Babyland. They say, pray to God, and God dead.
Yeah.
The God you talking about, what are you talking about? That is the biggest fault of any parent. Is to not know that you saying your God can die. And you believe in something that's dead, that came in a form of and died. And you say, will die for you. You said, God, this is what you said. God will die for you.
Take away your sin.
Now, you got to live with this if you die with it. That God ain't dying for evil. God does not die. So anyone who's pushing a dying God on this is blasphemy and poison. So poisonous that it has corrupted and almost destroyed the people itself. And now we have to bring in why this is all occurring. The master said, have you become a master mind yet? Have you put down the lesser and only think of the greater? You think of nothing base. When you come up on this divine movement, when you come up on this understanding of divine teachings and divine wisdom and understanding of purified knowledge, uncorrupted, all truth, undeniable, and implausible. There's no impossibility in the but understand self-knowledge. We think the creator is something outside of you. We think the creator is something that dies. We think the creator is something that comes in physical form to die for you. Then you think the same thing gonna come save you. Blasphemy. You your whole life didn't even correct yourself, and now you want to be saved by something divine. This is the most wicked I have on this plane. We don't support anything of divinity. This is true father's business.
Right on.
Where's your dues? Where's your time? Where's your order? For Satan, done nothing for the divine. And it's on you. The death is the ultimate truth. And it ain't about what I'm saying. It's about every one of us meeting death.
That's right.
we all shall meet death, and death gonna prove the ultimate truth of what, when, where, of. And so when you got life, you can change life. But I ain't seen a dead body wake itself up. I close our salon.
Well said.
Yeah, man. Praise be to the Lord. It has to be said.
Master Rand came from a gathering of the court. The master said, "Why are you so late?" Rand, you replied, there was government business. The master said, routine matters, no doubt. If there had been real government business, though I do not hold office, I would surely have been consulted. See, there's a lot of business going on down here on this earth, and you have to be extremely careful what you join or become part of. Remember, you heard the word divinity. Is this a divine government business? I don't think. Because see, when you hear government business, ain't nothing divine about that at all. Because we do know what that's about. They're going to tax you to death. The master said routine matter. Excuse me. $15. Dean asks, is there one word that can bring prosperity to the domain? Confucius replied, words alone cannot do that, but there's a saying that might come close. People say to be a ruler is difficult. To be a minister is not easy. If the ruler understands that it is not easy to be a ruler, this will come close, would it not? 2, one word that can bring prosperity to the domain. Question mark. And is there one word that can bring ruin to the domain? Ask the Duke. Confucius replied, words alone cannot do that. There's a saying that might come true. People have a saying, I have no delight in being a ruler. My soul delights in making certain that no one contradicts my words. If he is a good ruler and no one contradicts him, that would be good. Would it not? But if he is not good and no one contradicts him, this would come close to being one word that can bring ruin to the domain. Would it not? Question mark. 16. The Lord of She asked about government. The master said, when those close by are happy, those from far away gathered around. When Zion became a steward of Jupiter, he asked about government. The master said, don't try to hear a thing. Don't go after petty gain. Try to hear it and you accomplish nothing. Go after petty gain and the big understanding won't succeed. 18. Talking with Confucius, the Lord of She said, in our district, there's a fella called Honest Body. When his father stole a sheep, the son testified against him. Confucius said, in our district, the honest people are different from that. A father cover up for his son. A son cover up for his father. There's honesty in that too. 19. Fanchai asks about humaneness. The master said, in private life, be courteous. In handling affairs, respectful. In dealing with others, loyal. Even if diatribes, these rules can never be put aside. Courtesy, respectful, loyal. Boy, it's hard to find that, ain't it? It's hard to find that.
Not in self. It's easy to find it in myself.
But you can find everything else and you hear everything else come out of there.
That's what knowledge of self did for me. I don't look for it on outside of myself. Like I told someone else, it ends at your foot. This is where the lower self ends. Mm-hmm. Anything outside of that, that's outside. Yep. And we gotta understand knowledge for what it is. For myself, I respect knowledge. And I ain't gonna disrespect knowledge when this thing saved my life. So it'll save your life if you respect knowledge. Don't act dumb when you know, be what you know. Keep away from brainiacs.
There you go, right there.
That spoil good tenderness.
That's the problem right there. What gets everybody, that right there, what you just said.
It's too much. It's too much ignorance speaking. Mm-hmm. They don't even know what a cubit is. Script. Let's have speakers of knowledge so we can start getting somewhere in life. Oh yeah. One who knows what they're talking about, and you gotta come to the experience of. This is why the experience is here for you to come to your reason. No one gotta tell you, does this exist? Here goes the experience. Mm-hmm. You got two selves. There go your experience. See what you can do. Can you master your own self? It's possible because knowledge of self is self-mastery. So when we talking about, I'm talking to you, I'm talking at the third level of highest level of not returning back to this existence unless you choose to return through the knowledge of your application. This is not through guessing, not through believing, not studying. This is studying until you know. You don't stop studying until you know. This is the point of why understanding the Creator is a scholar. The Creator is no dummy. So stop acting as if for your salvation. Talk about including Jesus Christ. Mithraism. I bet you haven't heard of Mithraism. And that's why. So stop teaching your children this stuff you don't know and you don't understand, because it's coming back to harm you. Because it's ignorance, and it's getting ignorance pushed in their brain. And the brain is the cause to all the conditions of effects. Where you think ignorance go to the foot, the ignorance stores in the brain. This is where sickness begins. Sickness begins in the brain. You got to think of a sick thought, sick expression. They are sick in mind. And it's especially children should not be around a lot of these people. Because the children just gonna get blamed on when they ain't never brought themselves here. They didn't create themselves out of thin air. Unless you was born, or through knowledge you was born. And this is the reason why calamity is here. Man don't even know how his son get here, his daughter get here. Woman don't even know why she birthed a son, why she birthed a daughter. She got no guidance for him, no divinity, no divine guidance. So we're talking about, where is this law that is missing and has returned? Sufian Allah. This is where you will find yourself. This is where you find yourself. Knowledge is to find yourself. You don't go out your house to look for yourself in your house. Knowledge is for yourself, to know. So when we are speaking on these levels above, from the levels of purity, those who are pure and do the work of purity will begin to clean these words. If you burn you and tear you, but if you pure, you having a gladest night of a time of fun than ignorant people.
I know I do. I'm enjoying that.
So when we're talking about the commands that man have made, most of and from the rich, they ain't from the divine. And so these stories that have came over to give you some type of hope and some type of wishfulness of God and Jesus have feeding off your soul and spirit.
Oh, yeah.
And you don't know it because you don't study scholarship. You can't tell me, but I can tell you where your book come from.
How about that?
If you don't know where the Bible originate from, you need to study until you know where that comes from. And then go understand what this is.
I'm glad you pointed that out, because you know what? You go today and ask a preacher, he can tell you.
I couldn't
But
tell you.
yet he can run around and got it, and ain't no other book. The absolute truth. And now tell it on the mountaintop. over the hills and everywhere. When you look at all these ministers, and then you turn around and you look at our condition around us, oh man, all this crookedness. This reality is, and the conditions are critical. And every day, everybody wake up, they under these conditions. If they haven't gotten their mind right, every day when one awaken to see this day, this is his reality, and this is his condition that he lives under each and every day. This is his democracy. This is way of life. This is it. The rich and the poor, the good guys and the bad guys. There's some money, or no money at all. This is his reality. As long as he can get up and go to church on Sunday, he can go to these stores and I'm bigger than all that. And I ain't playing around. Like I said, I'm messing around. So I'm cleaning up as I go. And I ain't say that. They cleaning up as they go because they're on to all that wickedness that they're doing. They don't want to get nothing. They got sins and won't get rid of 20. Zigon, excuse me. Act, how should one conduct himself in order to be called a man of station? Remember now, we were talking about private life, and we're talking about courtesy, respectful, and loyal. They want to know about these stations. The master said, be mindful of anything shameful in your action. Boy, that powerful out. Be mindful of anything shameful in your action, because you know what you're ready to do it, and you do it anyway. How about that? In whose action? Your action. When sent on a mission to other regions in the full direction, do nothing to disgrace your ruler command. Then you can be called a man of station. Say, do nothing disgraceful to your ruler command. We look at our divine creator and what his command was. Did you uphold it in your station? I asked about a person on the next level. The master said, among the members of his clan, he is praised for his purity. He is praised for his otherlessness. And may I ask about the next level? The master said, their words are certain to be trustworthy. Their actions certain to be decisive. Petty men just floating along can reach this level. These days, ambush your people. Not even words is sizing up. The master said, if you can get someone to work with who's are the means, then you must choose between the and the cautious. Assertive will forge ahead decisively. The cautious can be trusted to have things they will not. 22. The master said, Southerners have a saying. If a person like constancy, he cannot become a chairman or a doctor. Well put, is it not unconstant in virtue is likely to suffer disgrace. And the master said, no need to consult a diviner to know that much. 23, the master said, the gentleman acts in harmony with others, but does not hate them. The petty man hates others, but if everyone in the village like him, how would that do? The master said, not good enough. If everyone in the village hate him, how would that do? The master said, not good enough. Better the good people in the village like him, and do not good people hate him. 25, the master said, the gentleman is easy to serve but hard to please. Try to please him with what does not accord with the way, and he will not be pleased. But when he employs others, the petty man is hard to serve but easy to please. Try pleasing him with what does not accord with the, and he will be pleased. But when he employs others, he expects them to be able to do anything. If self-possessed, but not arrogant. The petty man is arrogant, but not self-possessed. Master said, the firm, the bold, the simple, the spirit. Here. Zalu asks, how should one conduct himself in order to be called a man of station? The master said, earnest, exacting, but so harmonious. That would qualify you to be called a man of station. Earnest, right, exact. With friends, earnest, exacting, with elders and young brothers, harmonious. And the master said, let a good man instruct them for 7 years, and the common people will be capable of military service. The master said to instruct the common people in war, you could call that on them away. Oh, that's good. You know that.
So now some from the Sufiana, we're gonna go and see the things that correspond with what we just read from the Analects of Confucius. Sufa 128, Musi 7 says, ignorance and fear are the only veils to destroy them. That's how you do any type of form of ignorance. Our people, until you remove the condition, they cannot be cured. This is the cause of anyone's suffering. To cure, you're going to need knowledge and virtues. To cure yourself from the evils of ignorance and fear. Into ignorance. When we go overboard, this is how it becomes ignorance. And there's been a large overboard of ignorance by not cultivating knowledge. All wise knowledge is honored in Islam, except that which is make believe. So for me, it's nothing but to respect wise knowledge. That's a as we read the rule. Your higher self wants nothing but wise knowledge. When your lower self is make believe, why would you go others and fall into their make believe? Make believe. What is make believe? Anything made up that's not truth. So your whole book is make believe. It didn't start and originate as no divine scriptures. It even got. So you cannot become wise through make believe. It's just you can't. People can act in this way, and I myself did extract myself from others' ignorance. This whole journey has been an 18-year journey of learning to know thyself. Nothing short, nothing farther. Just right. Knowledge of self is just right for those who are into self-mastery. Ain't nobody anymore. If you not stand on what you know, if you're willing to stand on your divine teachings, you willing to live the way that's written, they conform to the way of the signature of your. This ain't nothing that you got to change into. This is something that you are by nature or not. You was either naturally from the or formed in the geometry of celestial divinity, or you are opposite of what that is, and you have no idea what that is, and you would do all your just dues to keep up knowing what it is. Everybody want to just run their flap, do this and do that, when only thing need to be done is virtue. Since double-minded man has came into the interaction of others, they have confused others into a dualistic life where they think they cannot this side you could just pray about in this answer. This is all make-believe. They already told you all prayers is not heard. But you believe in make-believe, not me. I did my necessary work. And I'm not selfish in the sense of I have it and now you go get yours. No, I will into what I know now and have quality. Because no two men are equal unless they have equal knowledge. And when those are superiors, they don't want you to have superior knowledge. The knowledge I have superior is over every knowledge that ever. All sciences and disciplines from the knowledge I'm bringing forth. This has been known as As-Salam, but false people, false teachers, and false prophets before. And so pure is what we call spirit. And this is what we have to understand. What is knowledge? What is wisdom? What is the it's divine, divinity, knowledge of the divinity. This is pre a body. You're gonna have to use your brain when I talk. This ain't for your, this is for something that you may not have yet for your future life. If you ain't studying, you ain't building your future life. So we have to understand, just like you don't get to school by yourself, you get to school by your parents. It's the same. So when we understand that the all is mine, and reconstructed literature from Indian philosophy known as Sufian. This is why you say you Indian, you part. This ain't got nothing. Spiritual principles and a spiritual style. Not how long your hair is. Is it Cherokee? Is it gray? Is it black? We talking about knowledge of self. This was the order of the day and the order for all parents when they was bringing a child into the world. You don't send a child clueless to be what you never told them they were and come here. Allah has made you responsible for the children you brought in. Why you think they under your guidance? Because you supposed to be under a whole victim to that. The children to blame. You and the child will both be repercussed by their own actions. Ain't nobody separated from nobody. If you dumb. So when we stop looking low down, dirty, and shame, you look at unless you did low things. Then you should be low just as the wolves, as the vultures swing low and eat on the dead. But no vulture can eat on what's alive. So when we're talking about life is knowledge. You have no knowledge if you don't life. Life was given for played with it and became ignorant. And now you are destroying yourself, experiencing misfortune upon misfortune, and wondering you come from the fire. But you want to be warm. You want the knowledge from divinity. Words like yoga, chitti, vritti. These are ancient knowledges that mean knowledge and virtue. This is how you quell, silence, acquiesce the bull in your own life. What are you searching for? How many years you've been on earth and you still have you not found? That means you need knowledge, because knowledge is what needs to be found. If you find knowledge, you will find yourself. If you find knowledge of self, you will find the creator. The creator does not have knowledge of yourself. You condemn your own self by convincing yourself of what others have told you without proof nor truth, only the fact of belief. It's by psychopaths. If you want to ignore yourself, by the murderers and psychopaths who created technology for you to sink yourself further into. That's not to liberate you. Technology, just like TV, is not to liberate you, just like came not from the creator. And Egypt mean egg, and you've been binding the yoke. And this is why the teachings have come to purify the yoke from the egg.
How about that?
Our divine creed, honor Allah. That was the way. That was the way of As-Salam. As-Salam, nature. That is divinity. Why is our expression, our love. And this is what we have to understand as we close this closing. In the name of the divine creator, Sufian Allah Wallah. In that understanding, we close in a divine meeting. As-Salam Wadu.